Hello everyone, welcome to another chapter for Gann, Tunnel Through the Air. Uh, Now, first of all, see, Gann has been a mastermind. First of all, he had already given us in this book that okay, there are certain things which has to be there. For example, he had told us that we have to read this book 3 times. Now, the first time when you read across, you are not able to understand many of the things which are there. And there are certain mysteries which have been given in the book. That's why you have to read the book at least twice or thrice. This is specially been told by himself, right? And now, what are the kind of mysteries which are there? Let's try to see some very simple mysteries which are there. For example, if you see on this page, what has been given is he figured that America began with the discovery for by Columbus in 1492, and that in October 1932 would be 440 years since the discovery. Now, this is very clear, it has been given over there. The measurement used throughout the book, Bible. Now, the spelling of throughout, if you see, is something suspicious. The Bible was by scores, and man's span of life was 60 years and 10, and that 440 years equal 22 scores. Right now, if you see about this part, it says that okay, 440, that is 440 equals 22 scores. So every score is of 20 years, leaving two scores or 40 years more for the completion of the Jubilee year. Now, what is this Jubilee year? Nothing specifically as such has been mentioned. He read Matthew 18:21 and 22. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 70 times? Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 70 times, but until 70 times 7. Now, 70 times 7 is 7 into 70, which comes to 490. Robert figured that 70 times 7 means 490 years from the discovery of America. Right now, the date of discovery of America has been given, which is 1492. Let's do the calculations. For example, let's say here 1492 has been given, and from this we add 440 to that, right? So adding these two figures together, it comes to 1932. Until we could cease fighting, forgive our brothers, and live in peace. He knew that the seventh period was always a jubilee period. Now, what is this seventh period? We are not typically sure, but what we understand is there is a period of 70 years, and these have been divided into 7 times. So, probably that's why he's telling that there was a jubilee period of 7 years at the end of each 49th year period, and that there was a great period of 49 jubilee years at the end of 7 times 70. Now, first of all, is 7 times 70 is 490, and we have to again add 49 years to that. This is what something specifically is being mentioned here 7 times, right? So, this is what it says, and that there was a great period of 49 jubilee years at the end of 7 times 70, right? So, there are two interpretations in this part. It is either what has been given in the book, and second is what we have. Let's say, for example, if we know, let's do the calculations again. Now we knew from 1492, 440 years is 1932, right? And if we great period of 49 years at the end of 7 times 70. So if we add 49 into this figure, it would be a something different date. Let's say, for example, we are adding 49 over here. So this is coming to 1981, right? As per that time period which has been given, right? And what is being specially mentioned in the book is something else. We'll try to see that the sixth period would end in 1933, right? Now, if you take the six periods which is there, let's say, for example, these are seven periods, 7 into 70. If we consider six periods, that is six sevens, it would be coming to 420, right? So I have calculated that over here. That is 6 into 70, which comes to 420. So adding this to 1492, it would be coming to 1912, right? But here the calculation comes to 1933. So this is probably considering the Jubilee period which is there, which is a bit of complicated thing, right? And that from 1933 to 1982 would be 49 years of the Great Jubilee following the end of war. Now, if we add 1492 as per that, and if we say 1933 to 1982, that comes as a difference of 49 years. So this is something as an interpretation which is there. This is probably one doubt which is there. Second is, do we know about this 490 which is there? So this is high to high, low to low. What exactly are there any kind of cycles which are there, right? One more mystery which is given over here is, now we knew that okay, Gann was a genius, so probably he won't be able to make any kind of mistakes which are there, but there are something more of interpretation, misinterpretations which are there. There are something called as cross references which are there, and there are something called as errors which are there, which we need to rectify from our side, right? Now let's take about this part. Right, so what is it given is, he asked Robert for Mary's date of birth. Robert told him that he knew she was born on October 6th, but that he was not sure of the year. But he thought it was 1908. Now, probably various places, being his girlfriend, he should be at least knowing her date of birth. But probably this is something that we have to interpret from our side and try to understand what exactly it is, right? Apart from that, certain other mysteries which are there is, which we need to identify from our side is, let's say we are talking about the name of the book, which is The Tunnel Through the Air. Now, the spelling which is there of through, it's been written as THRU. This is a kind of mystery. And second is, there are no titles of a book which is like or something like that. There's generally a book, a name which is there. For example, The Alchemist. This is a proper name which has been given, but here they are giving an option of two names, which is or, looking back from 1940. Now, if you look at the story, probably the book which is there, the book started somewhere around in 1927. So copyright is in 1927. And the end of the book is something around 1932, not more than that, right? So which is at probably the end date which has been given. So this end date comes on, probably it is there on 1932, which has been given, right? And nowhere is a mention in the book something talking about 1940. So again, this is a mystery which is there. So let's keep these mysteries aside. Let's try to understand the simple parts of the book which is there. And once we have understood the simple parts of the book, probably we'll be able to go further to the interpretations, which probably would be requiring the second reading or the third reading, something like that. Right? At this stage, let's try to find out the simple basic things which have been given in the book and try to understand that. Now, in the first part, we have understood few of the things which are there. So, for example, this is August 30th, which is there of 1932, which has been given, right? Uh, Now, for understanding this part, not this part especially as such, but the cycles that we have seen. Let's go to page number. We saw a topic which was specifically talking about cycles. So let's try to revise some of the things which are there so that things become much more easier for us to understand overall. We'll just see few of the points, not all of them overall, and more about in general as such specifically. Right. So this is talking about future cycle, chapter number 7, which is there. And my first of all request is whoever is viewing this or probably seeing the series of WD Gann for the first time, my request is please go through the previous videos which have been given. The link to this videos is already been given in the description. You can click that. First of all, go through that, and after that, come back to this video. Right. In making the predictions, I use geometry and mathematics just as the astronomers does based of immutable laws. I claim that all scientific laws are laid down in the Bible if a person knows where to find them. That in order to know and predict the future of anything, you only have to look up what has happened in the past and get a correct base or starting point. Now, if you see, Gann has a major emphasis which is there on the starting point, which is the base. He says that until unless you get the correct point, you won't be able to find the end point. This makes it plain that everything works according to past cycles and that history repeats itself in the lives of men, nations, and the stock market. If you have the correct starting point. Now he says that, okay, as per the law of vibration, which the wireless telegraphy, the phonograph, and the radio, these are all based on this law of vibration. So if you need to understand those laws, yes, definitely you'll be able to know that. And it would be just as easy to figure 100 years or 1,000 years in the future as 1 or 2 years ahead. But for that, you need to have the correct starting point. So again, the emphasis is there on the starting point. So that's why it is very critical to know where to start, right? So in our cycles till now, whatever we have been considering, that is on the basis of either the highs or the lows, right? The most important thing is to begin right. For if we have the right beginning, we will get the right ending. Now, one very important thing that Gann explains over here is I have always looked for causes, and when once I determined a cause, I can always be sure of the effect or future event which I predict. It is not my aim to explain the cause of cycles. The general public is not yet ready for it and probably would not understand or believe it if I explained it. So Gann, as I told you, he was a mastermind. He has gone to certain levels which probably is still difficult for all of us to understand the things which are there, right? But in his books, he has given certain kind of clues which are there, which we need to understand and interpret from outside. That at least we can do, and that is more of not being given very clearly. Whatever things we are trying to interpret till now are been given in a simple language, and we are trying to interpret that as per the knowledge that we have, right? And again, he talks about wheels within the wheel. Time is a great factor that proves all things. So it is very important to understand time. So he talks about various cycles that we have seen previously. The smallest cycle is there of 4 minutes. Then we have the seasonal cycles. This brings about the 4 seasons of the year. These are the minor cycles. And over that, there is a yearly cycle, half yearly cycle, which we had explained in the form of Gann and Blinn. So it was like a square within a circle. 90-day cycle was there, or 120-day cycle, which is there, right? So if we look out, the last point that we have seen from our side and that we want to see over here now is we had continued or probably seen the cotton cycle which was there, and after that we now come to the major motorcycle, which is page 197. So let's go quickly to page 197. So here we come to page number 197. So this is what we had seen last time, right? One, two things probably which we have missed. I would just like to highlight that he has talked about highs and lows, which we had seen specifically, and this high and lows had come down mostly to the 30-day cycle, which is there, or the 90-day cycles, which has been there. And he writes over there, he sold again, then he sold for this date, sold again on this date. As he was coming down again, he tried to sold. So he was basically talking about pyramiding. So every now and then, whenever he got an entry, he used to go for pyramiding, so that over a period of time he used to collect orders. It was not that okay, he used to invest at the low parts or something like that. No, he was basically tried to do more of pyramiding, as he probably was able to go in his directions, right? Pyramid on the way up, this has already been given, right? Whenever he expected the tops or the highs, this are all been given. So this is all for the cotton cycle, which is there, which you have seen. Again, in the major motorcycle, if you see, he has talked about the highs and lows part, right? Again, pyramiding it all the way up, right? This has all been specifically given. Uh, he talks about very specific thing. This is related to the risk management part. What he says is he had made it a rule that after he had made a large amount of profits, that he would never risk more than 10% of his profit on the first new deal, and that if that deal went wrong, he lost 10% of capital. He would decrease his trading so that next loss would only be 10% of his remaining profits. So he's talking about risking only the profit that he has earned. And if he lose 10% of this profit, probably the next trade he will try to reduce it so that again the loss which will be there from that would be maximum 10% of the profits. This is how he used to do his risk management. Now, as he started making more and more money, he was being known into the circle as the boy wizard of Wall Street. Right here, Walter introduced him to a person by the name of Henry Watson, who was 70 years plus of age, and he talked about few of the things with Robert. What are the things? We'll see those one by one. What he talked about. He talked about Wall Street was a place of ups and downs, mostly downs, and that the time to quit was when you were young and have made your money. So it is always the best thing that okay, once you have made your money, quickly get out of the trade. This is what he is trying to say. Second thing he says is selfishness and greed were the cause of the fall of Daniel too. So when being into the trade, you have to be very much mechanical. You don't have to be probably selfish or probably not even greedy. Once you have achieved your target, just try to get out of the trade. I could go over the history of Scales, Livermore, Durant, Rand, and the balance of the great men on Wall Street. And in analyzing their trades, the one weak point would be found in all of them. They diversified too much, did not specialize in one commodity or a few special stocks, but spread all over the board. So probably I took lessons from this part, and I'm trying to focus only on Nifty or maybe on one or two stocks, not more than that. So this is what I have tried to do. I spend most of the time on Nifty, try to see the cycles which are there, how it would be moving in the future, or how it have been moved in the past till now. That is probably more of focus. Another weak point that was when luck turned against a man in Wall Street. He kept on trying to recoup his losses instead of stopping just as soon as there was an indication that the tide had turned against him. Most men at the heights of prosperity lose their senses of good judgment because inflated with their success, think they are infallible, refuse to follow science or the advice of anyone, with the result that they continue to buck the tide till all their money is gone. So this is very important. Once you have reached to a specific level, you need to still go on with your risk management and the rules that you have set up. You should not just push across the rules at one side. E.H. Harriman, who died worth about $300 million, he had probably made out of the market $100 million in the last 3 or 4 years of his life. So as you keep on practicing more and more and more, you are able to get into the more of the skills which are there, and probably definitely you'll be making money. So out of 300, it is like almost $100 million he had made at the end of 3 4 years. He stuck to one class of stocks, railroads. He studied them day and night, never diverted his attention to other lines. So it was very focused. When you are focused and doing certain things only, definitely you are able to grab more of that. The great love you have for her is now furnishing the hope which will carry you to success. Then that hope is gone, you will have to find a new one or you cannot go on. So it's like once you have finished or achieved probably to your target, you need to have another target in your mind and you need to start working on those targets, is what he is trying to say and interpret through those things. So probably this is what are his teachings, and this is been termed as risk management. Now he has something else to tell to us, and that is through Kipling's poem, which is If, right? So this poem is more about being mechanical and more about your psychology part, right? What it is, I'll just read it for you. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if we can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if we can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to, broken and stood and built them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toast, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If we can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. Right? So this is what the poem is more about, talking about all the things. He told Robert the greatest test of a man would come when he reached the stage of great prosperity. That almost any man could stand reverses, but very few could stand prosperity. So it is very important that once you have started accumulating profit, you are also able to keep those profits with your own self. Right? This is what is being more talked about in this parts, especially. Uh, Now this is about Henry Watson. Then we saw about Kapling. We saw about the great prosperity, which is there. Let's go to the further parts which are there. This is chapter 90, 222. What is this part? Okay, so this is just talking about cycles people did fly in older days and that we are not only repeating past cycles. This is one of the curious things which probably I didn't understand. I'll just read it for you guys. If you are anyone is able to interpret it, please do drop a message on the YouTube channel so that I can read that and try to understand also. Probably you can drop a message on the Telegram channel also. From the Bible, he interpreted that he belonged to the tribe of Issachar, the first son of Jacob, and that this name indicated price, reward, recompense. He understood from this that he would have to pay the price, but he would receive the reward of his faithfulness and devotion to Mary. So, as per my interpretation, this is more about your horoscope and rest of the parts which are there. So, probably Gann try to use that also, but apart from that, any other interpretations are there? Please do let me know. Again, talking about the same thing, but this is especially with a different meaning as such. Destroy this temple in 3 days. I will build it up again. So this is something else which is there. This is more of to do with the moon cycles which are there. Probably we'll try to see this in the next video, not this one, because this is we have to get into the detail. We are just trying to cover more of the simple parts at this stage. I will come down to page number 222. So this is presidential elections. We'll not get into the details of this one. Yep. This is our chapter which is there. So he now had profits which gave him working capital of over $500,000. He wanted to spend on his place. So this chapter is more about his discoveries which are there. So we'll just quickly go through those things. So first of all was the plane which is there. After that, his new invention was to have built a silent motor or a muffler which is there. He named it the Saint Mary, and probably he tried to sell it across to the Defense Department of America, but those people didn't agree with that, and ultimately he did sell it across to the Japanese government. So Japanese government and the report of the large amount of money they had paid for his noiseless patent for airplanes. So this was there. And build up planes which were at an average speed of 300 miles per hour. Robert soon went to work on a new invention and perfected a machine to read the minds of people. So he called it Teletalk. He also used that during the wartime, which probably came up later on. He had an invention of sun mirror, which is there, collected the rays from the sun and produced heat powerful enough to melt down the skyscrapers in a few minutes. He called it the demon of death, right? So what it more of says is probably you need to have different kind of trading strategy with the help of which you will be able to trade. It's not that okay, you should be only having one tool with you. Build a giant airship. So this giant airship was been called as Mary the Angel of Mercy, and it could store. They figured it out. Would send a powerful death ray 300 to 5 3,000 to 5,000 miles through space, destroying everything within a radius of 700 miles. So this is was being kept over there. So this was some of the discoveries that he made from his side. He also made a new 12-cylinder motor had been tested, and the engines had estimated that they would attain a speed of 1,000 miles per hour. So this was a great speed during that time period. Not many had achieved that. So secret communication would be necessary. So he had also invented a pocket radio. The positive radio was carried in one person's pocket and the negative in another person. And by pressing the system stem, it would be changed from positive into negative. So no sound was transmitted through the air. The machine would be operated by certain motion of the fingers on a little push button, which recorded symbols on the other machine that would reveal the message set. So these are more of tools. Our tools are more of moving average, RSI, MACD, Bollinger Band is there, and momentum probably. Then you have something called as CCI that you can use, or probably other tools which you think from your side can be there. For example, SAR probability is there, which at times I do use it. So all these are different tools. Probably you can use those tools and try to focus on things. So this is about one of the things he had a very peculiar. Further to during that part, he had a very peculiar dream the night before that he had dreamed that he had gone to Paris and suddenly met Mary. He was so strongly impressed with the dream that he decided to live for once. So he went over there, he went to Paris, he tried to search for that. And what did he see over there is suddenly he saw a form approaching very closely. And like a flash, a woman quickly passed him. He was sure it was Mary. His heart was in his throat. He turned around quickly to follow her, but she was disappeared. Just as she passed, she dropped a letter on the street and he picked it up. So it was like a letter been given to her. And I'll just tell you about this part. Probably we'll just read through it things so that it becomes easier for you guys also to understand. He decided to open the letter. When he opened it, it was in a foreign language which he did not understand. He was not sure whether it was Mary's handwriting or not. His friend gladly consented to read the letter. Robert handed it to him, and he glanced over it, handed it back to Robert without a word, told him to get out of his house immediately and never darken the door again. So this was the same kind of answer that he got from rest of the people also. He called the address, explained his mission. In a few minutes, the manager returned, handed him the letter, told him there was the door, please get out and ask no questions. Hmm. So, Dr. describes, Robert explained what has happened about the meeting Mary on the street and about seeing. And he explained about all the things and hope so strong that he would meet her. He had brought himself to believe that she was there and had really thought that he had seen her both on the street and in the ballroom, but it was probably an optical delusion. And after he got better, he would realize that he hadn't seen Mary. So probably this is what is the story that okay, this was more of a illusion. Robert handed him the letter, and after looking it over, he handed the letter back to Robert, turned to the doctor and said, have you no more respect for my friendship than to insult me in a manner like this? Begone and never let me see you in my house again. So this happened with most of the interpreters or people who were there. Robert, after handing it to the man who spoke about 10 different languages, the interpreter handed it back to him and stated in a firm, gentleman-like manner that he would like him to please leave the office immediately and never return. So he tried desperately from his side to at least get a reply for the letter, but he was not able to get any of the things back. Finally met someone, and he was like, he pulled forth the wallet from his pocket, opened it up and looked for the letter, but it was not there. So someone did interpret the details that he have shared, Robert had shared with that lady, and she told Mary is still alive, and for mysterious reason is keeping in hiding from her parents and everyone else. But her love is as strong as the rock of Gibraltar, and she will keep her promise to return to Robert when he needs her most. It was the spirit of Mary that Robert saw on the streets in Paris. Mary was not there and never had been. But Robert loved her so much and longed for her until Mary's spirit, which had always been closer in touch with Robert, was able to leave her body and appear to comfort him. It was Mary's spirit that he saw at the bottom. The mysterious letter never existed. It was a delusion and a power of the subconscious mind. This power is known and understood by the adept of India. Some of my tribes knew how to project the subconscious mind or spirit or so called it anywhere they desired. So this was probably more of his hallucination, which is there. So that was more of the story part. Jesus said that when they asked him for a sign that the Son of God will remain 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, then rise and ascend to heaven. So as I told you, this is something to do move with the moon, and we'll probably try to cover it into the next chapter. At this time, let's try to more of look at the simple parts because that is more of to do with details. We need to get into the details of that part. Where have we covered? We have seen airplane, all these things together. Radio pocket, sleeping gas. And we come to page number 346. The other parts which are there. The discovery was a perfectly harmless gas to be used. So this is one of the gas they have prepared, and it would put people to sleep, and they would remain asleep for 7 days with no ill effects. So this is one of the sleeping gas that they have invented to be used during the times of war. And definitely there was a war which took up place between America and rest of the countries. Only Canada and France did try to help them. So they did attack overall on America. Uh, Robert and his friend tried to help them, but the seniors didn't listen to those guys first of all, initially, first of all, and then slowly and gradually, as they came to know about all the things together, they tried to help these guys, and they were able to place their inventions in front of the American Defense Department. There is only one critical part which is there further, which we need to try to understand. So, because there are certain cycles which have been given in that. Let me go to the page number, and page number is 341. Yep, that's it is. So this is the chapter where we'll be able to find the details. So this is one more machine that they had. This is tunnel through the air that they have built up. This, uh, and it could travel through a vacuum at a speed of 1,000 miles per hour. right? One more critical thing that we saw over here is Mary was more of a emotion for him, right? One critical thing which we saw during this book is they both wanted to elope. They even planned for all the things together. They had already set up into a train on a specific night and before his birthday, and it was like at a place they were going to get married, and from there they were supposed to shift to New York. This is what had happened. Probably both of them did get into the train also, and like at night they were sitting into the train. They were sitting in two different compartments, and in the morning when they thought that they would be able to meet together for breakfast, Mary was out of the train and she was also out of the station. So there is an important lesson that we need to learn from this is at times where we are very super confident that okay fine at this time probably this would be reaching or the price will be reaching to the price that we have and it has taken up the direction that we have. Even during these times we need to be very critical in terms of our stop loss. It's not necessary that we should be hitting our target, right? It does happen at times that we are not able to hit our target and the trade does reverses. So the most important thing is what we have in our hand is only stop loss. So we should keep on trailing our stop loss so that we are not able to lose our money and we are also not able to lose our profits. Whatever we are trying to gain, we should first of all try to keep our capital intact. And second thing is keep try to keep maximum profits in our pocket. So this is what the emotional part about Mary talks about, and it was not necessary for him that okay he should have written the book in a specific way. Like okay, even if Mary was there with him, it would have been a good part. But because there were certain aspects which he wanted to put through the book in front of us readers, that's why he had twisted the story in such a way. The dream, letter, all these things are already been done. 376, 371, 376. Right. So there are certain aspects which have been given in this book now. He continued to Ezekiel, and it was like again the 25th verse, and he shall speak great words again from the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think of change, times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of times, right? So probably this is talking about first of all high to high cycles which are there, and after that there would be changes in the cycle which are there, right? So times by time is first of all time is 20, so 20 by 20 it is going to be 400 and times of and dividing of times. So 20 half of that is 10, so it somewhere around comes to 410 which is there. And probably these are more of in terms of cycles which are there, so we need to identify what are the kind of cycles which are there and how they work out. Again further he talks that cycles that a time of a season referred to in the Bible meant 360 days, 360 years, or 360 degrees, a measure known and used by the astrologers in olden times and still understood and used by modern astrologers for measuring time. You knew that half a time meant 180 degrees, 180 days, and years. So we have already studied about this part and tried to interpret, because Ezekiel has said that the Lord had appointed a day for a year. He figured that America began with the discovery of Columbus, right? So we saw this part previously. Uh, We also saw about this part how this 7490 comes in. So still I'll read. Lord knew how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him. Till 7 times. Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. So 70 times 7 comes to 490, right? Now, if you see for the cycles of 490, there are various interpretations that we had. For example, from this high point to this high point, it is coming to 490 days. If you see from this point, probably this is the high. To the high of this point, it is coming to somewhere around 510 days. So again, high from this part to this part is coming to somewhere around 550. If you see from this low part, this is a major low. From this low to this low, this is coming to 490. So there are similar cycles which have been seen. Again, if you see, yes, this high to this high is probably coming to 490 days. Again, this high to this high, if you see, it is coming to 518 days. So probably this is more of an interpretation that we need to understand from outside and take this further. So this is more of high to high, low to low cycles which are there over a period of time. He figured that a time equals 20 years or a score, and that a time times equaled 400 years, and a half of time equaled 10 years. So it was like 20 to 20 is 400 plus 10 is 410 that we saw previously, and time equals 20 years. Again, Daniel, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that make dissolve set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So this is 1,290 days, which is specially been mentioned. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. So if you talk about again 70 weeks, so 70 weeks into 7 is 490 days. So we saw about this 490 previously also. So this is there. So probably these are the same cycles which are there. Again, coming in terms of different interpretations which are there. So this can be 490 days, 490 weeks, 490 years, as per the interpretation that we have. This is specifically talking about weeks only. So this is 490 days to be specific. And we took this cycle of 490 days. This again proved that 490 years from the discovery of America. So this can be year for a day or day for a year, right? 140 years. And as per the cycles, probably this is for the time period which has been given. So which comes to 20. And for a man cycle, it is 3 into 20 plus 10. So this is a life cycle of a man, a human being. So these are all the cycles which have been given. And probably at the end of the day, it happened that, okay, they are able to win. And one more thing is there. So everything was going good. They were able to win the war also. And there were further no attacks. And finally, he decided that he would go across to various countries and create a fear in their mind, right? So this is talking about talk about Gordon's 7 days. Now, again, this is about the 7 days is something which is specific. We'll try to cover that into details further. At this time, if you have any specific kind of doubts, please do ask your doubts. Second thing is, we do specially have our channel, which is Unit of Technical Analysis for Trading. Our humble request would be to kindly please subscribe to the channel. Please do like the videos and place your comments. There are videos as per the playlist which has been given. So you need to go to these various playlists which are there, WD trading videos which have been given, the Unit of Technical Analysis series from 1 to 10 which is there. So you need to see and watch these videos all together one by one. Currently we'll be just stopping with this video. Thank you so much, guys.